Ahoy there, friends. It's your boy, Dan Bob. Does it look like I'm in like a 1970s lodge right now? If so, I'm at a hotel in Santa Barbara. And had one of my friends' weddings last night. Jake Grafstein, shout out to you, brother. Love you. And Britt, Mazel Tov. And now I am 4 minutes away from doing an interview with the Times of Israel, which is, it's just crazy. Like this is happening. I feel very excited. I feel excited for the release. I feel like, I feel really proud of the film. It is beautiful. It is moving. It is touching. I think it's well made. I think I have to shout out Alexis Lopez for editing this so fast. I mean, we literally wrapped the film on like April 9th, and the fact that it's coming out a month later is just, it's a real testament to my team and everybody that's worked on the film and is working on the film. So snaps to them. Alexis Lopez, Jake Matthew, Ryan Staples, Matt Oliveira, all on the production side. And then on the marketing and PR side, Rebecca Perlmutter, Sean Leviashli. God, I'm butchering that. I'm sorry, Sean. I love you, buddy. Mara Friedman, Ellen Johnson-Heim, obviously, and Dan Luxembourg. Love you guys. And if I'm forgetting anybody, I'm a jerk. But yeah, I'm going to record this interview with the Times of Israel because why not? And then I'm going to try and do some like Q&A stuff for the film. Give you guys a little insight into my process. My process is basically just drink coffee and hope for the best. I was just downstairs at the hotel lobby coffee bar and was talking to the woman serving me, and you know, today is Mother's Day. It's May 12th. And she's like, you know, Mother's Day is hard for her. Mother's Day is, she just said Mother's Day is hard for her. She has two daughters. One's 20, one's 22. She clearly had them young because she's like, I'm only 43. And, you know, it reminds me of my mom who had me when she was 19. My mom had me very young. I love you, Mom. And, you know, she brought up this idea of like how Mother's Day is always a nice day because she knows that's when her kids are home. That's when her kids are going to be home. And that whole idea of just like feeling your kids home is, I mean, I love it. Like when my daughter's home, I love it. When she's home and happy, I love it. Even when she's not happy, I love when she's home. And, you know, I saw a lot of friends from high school last night at this wedding, and I was just like, man, like time really goes by fast. Like a lot of us have kids, many of us have kids, and I'll tell them that Leia is, you know, turning 7 on Wednesday. Her birthday's on the 15th. And they're just like, oh my God, she's like a real kid. She's like a real kid. And I'm like, yeah, she is. So, I'll get into Mother's Day a little later, how I feel about it in terms of, you know, missing Noelle and the complexities of having a child who misses her mom. All right, here we go. Jessica Steinberg from Times of Israel. You ready to talk? Yes, standing by. This is so cool. I literally have had 2 sips of coffee, so this is going to be a weird one. I slept maybe 6 hours. I'm not hungover, which is great. It's the beauty of sobriety. Like, I'm just never hungover. It's like kind of amazing because that's like the worst part about drinking. Okay, hold on just a sec. Okay, Jessica Steinberg from the Times of Israel. I'll hold. Oh, man. I wonder what she's going to ask me. Oh, here she comes. Hey, Jessica, this is Rob.
Hey Rob, this is Jessica. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay, wait, what time is it? I meant to figure that out.
It is.
Really? Oh
It's
wow.
it's
It's
8
late.
a.m. It's all good.
Oh, okay.
I'm alive and well. I've got a giant coffee in my hands.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. Okay, excellent. Um, well, thank you for agreeing to speak to me on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m. I do appreciate it.
Of course,
Um,
of course.
we definitely wanted to get this story up and moving as we approach these days of mourning. That the day of mourning that begins tonight, as you know. Um,
I had a quick question before we start.
yeah.
I have a YouTube channel and I was planning on putting this interview out on YouTube and I wanted to make sure that that was okay with you.
Interesting question. I don't think I've ever had this asked of me. Um, let me find out?
Yeah,
Powers that be?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Out. I mean, do what you need to do, and I'll find out. Okay.
Okay, copy that. If anything comes up, I could always pull the video. It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
And I don't have a big following, so it's.
So your following's pretty big. I have two 15-year-olds. They're I happened to be looking over my shoulder. They were impressed.
Okay.
So,
As if I can get the vote of a 15-year-old, I might be doing something right.
Yeah, I would agree with that because I don't generally get the approval. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like I know a lot of your story. I don't need you to, I've read, obviously a lot. I've looked at all the platforms. I'm unfortunately familiar with loss, not in my own personal life, but of some very dear friends.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My sister who died a bunch of years ago. So I really, I was listening and reading a lot of what you've done, and I thought, wow, I identify with that. That is familiar. So yeah, loss and all of that.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to focus on, and Ellen and I did speak about this, to a certain extent, was a little bit more about your background. I know that I think your father's Israeli, and more of what you expected coming here, which was really very recently, and then what you actually found that maybe you anticipated or you didn't. Listen, I know, and just to give you a little bit of a sense, I'm the arts and culture person at the Times of Israel. I write about the fun stuff usually.
Nice.
And since October 7th, I cover the hostages.
Okay.
So
got it.
So it's been a complicated, difficult, painful 7 months as well, for everyone, and I consider myself certainly part of it. So anyways, that's where I'm coming from. Like, I'm someone who also doesn't usually delve into this, at least professionally, and yeah, it brings up a lot of different things.
Of course, yeah.
So first, let's start. Give me a little bit of your family background, whatever you want to share in terms of like you as a, Israeli heritage, Jewish heritage, who you are in that scape, sort of like, landscape.
Okay, yeah. So my mom is Jewish. I was actually born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and
wow.
Yeah. And my biological father is not Jewish. He lives in Hawaii, and he's like a surfer dude. He's the best.
Wow.
They divorced when I was very young, when I was like 2. And then my mom remarried when I was 10 to Adi Moore, who's Israeli.
Wow.
So I'm like this white boy in my family, and like, because like I've posted content where I'm like, I'm Israeli, and people are like, no, you're not. You're just a white kid. And I'm like, no, I swear. So then my mom remarried when I was 10. and Adi adopted me, and my mom
Wow.
adopted two of his kids, and we have now just a giant blended beautiful family. I have 7 siblings.
Huh.
The Moores, if you know the Moores, were like an amazing family, and then they
Wow.
ended up having
Wow.
two kids together. My younger brothers Yoni and Josh.
I was gonna say you must have two joint siblings.
Yes,
Exactly. Okay.
yes. So
Got it.
so my Israeli heritage really started at a later age. It started at the age of 10,
Huh.
and I just remember meeting, going to Israel for the first time and like meeting all my cousins and eating hummus and like matbucha at the
Yeah.
table and like falling in love with the people and the culture and just Israel. Like we would go every summer. It was like
Right. Right. That typical. Yeah.
it
Exactly.
was like our staple. Oh, okay. When are we going to Israel, Mom? And so
Right.
that's just like how
That's
I
that
grew.
happening.
Yeah, that's just how I grew up.
And
Um,
where in California did you grow up? I know you live in Pasadena now, right?
I live in Pasadena now, so I actually grew up in Chicago in a
Oh.
north suburb called Highland Park.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Yeah, so
Sure.
like,
Absolutely.
nice
So
Jewish.
Jewville, really
Yeah,
good.
Jewville,
Yeah.
exactly. Nice Jewish suburb. It was an amazing childhood, amazing upbringing. I'm still best
Huh.
friends with all my like Highland Park besties. I'm literally at a wedding, or the wedding was last night of a Highland Park friend. So
Got it.
big shout out to Highland Park.
Wow.
Love Highland Park.
Okay. I've been there. Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's a really interesting background.
Yeah.
Okay. And then like Jewish education, or like was it the Israel trips? Was it just the home life? Did you also end up, I don't know, Hebrew school or learning
Yeah,
Hebrew or yeah?
went to Hebrew school, dropped out after a year. Didn't get kicked out, but like it was. I was like, I'm not going back there.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty horrible. Hebrew school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and got
Yeah.
bar mitzvahed, and then I did
The
take.
whole thing.
Yeah, I took Hebrew in high school. They offered Hebrew in high school, so I took 2 years of Hebrew and was able to like, I can read and write Hebrew, which is good. I speak it. I can't really speak it, but I can get by.
But you're familiar with it.
I can order shawarma. I know how to do that.
You can also say shawarma very well. So
Yes,
yeah, I
yes,
hear that.
yeah,
Okay, I got it. Okay. Okay. So then this was what I was thinking about as I was, sort of scrolling through everything and becoming familiarizing myself with your story. Then you got married, and then you had this, horrific thing happen, which is illness and death
yeah,
of, your beloved spouse, which is the worst.
yeah.
Um, without without putting it too delicately, it just is. And then and then this all happened, which is like several years later, and I'm wondering how how I sort of was looking at your content and thinking I didn't know this whole backstory at first, so maybe I was looking everything over and thinking, well, who is this guy? Like, is he even Jewish?
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? Like,
right.
because in your content, that wasn't coming across to me. So then I was thinking, okay, so then when I understood that you are Jewish and that you have this whole Israeli, very deep connection, but one and one doesn't necessarily make two in this situation. Like, it's a very different thing to be a producer, to be a content person, to be an influencer about this particular subject, and then to go to Israel now when all of this is happening in the world and saying, I'm going to go out there and see what I can do with this situation. So I kind of wanted to understand. I don't know. Did you have any hesitations? Did you? And of course, now everything has really blown up. But
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand where you were, and if that's where you were, if that's what was on your mind. This determination to bring your story to others who it could maybe help.
Well, I have to acknowledge like Chabad. I got more religious in college from my Chabad rabbi, and
Okay.
connected with Rabbi Korn, who is the Chabad rabbi at NYU. which is where I went. And then my late wife, Noelle, actually did an Orthodox conversion before we got married.
Oh, wow.
So then I was like Orthodox for like 2 years. I was like living in the neighborhood and really immersing myself in that lifestyle. Then we got married, and you know, we got less religious. But my connection to Judaism has always been very deep, and you know, my levels of observance kind of fluctuates. So now, you know, I go to Chabad, and anyways, so my Chabad rabbi now, Rabbi Hanoka of Chabad of Pasadena, he just emailed me being like, hey, there's a solidarity trip to Israel. I really, you know, I think you should consider it. And at first I was just like, I need to go to Israel. I'm so glued to the media and news and everything going on. So I just wanted to see it firsthand. And you know, I'm a filmmaker, so I was like, I'll just bring my camera and, you know, shoot something. And to get back to your earlier point of like, you know, why do this? Why cover grief in Israel? I've noticed through my sharing of my grief that it's not only cathartic for me as a widower, but it's cathartic for the viewers who are experiencing all these different emotions that really don't often get related to, even in our closest of circles. Like, even if you're talking to your mom, you know, my mom's never lost her wife, like a wife, or like my best friend's never lost his wife. And then even like not funny enough, but like Adi, my dad, his wife died also. So like we're both widowers.
His first wife.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so when I was going through cancer, when my wife was going through cancer treatment, you know, he would call me and be like, you know, I know exactly what you're going through. And that would almost upset me. So like grief is just so complex because he would try and relate to me and I'd be like, I don't want to be related to.
Your wife died. I don't
right. It's like
for that outcome.
Exactly. And you know, and all the intentions are so good around grief. You know, everybody really wants to try and lift you up and also lift themselves up because they're facing something that is, it's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, death is unreal. We don't know what death is, really.
Yeah.
And so to shoot this film and why it was important was I wanted to help, if I could help even one person who was grieving, it was worth it. And I needed to go to Israel and just see what the hell was going on with my own eyes, understand the complexity, because it feels like, you know, things are really unraveling, and that in the States it feels that way. Like I feel like sanity is kind of left. I'm trying to find more sanity in the world.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. I gave you a multi-layered question, so I'm glad that you broke it down like this. Okay, so now let's sort of stick with the trip. So then you go, and Ellen was describing some of it to me, and you know, as we know, there's all kinds of grief, right?
Yes.
There's all kinds of death. And there, you know, families with multiple deaths.
Yeah.
That are, you know, really, really hard to grasp. Impossible, really. And, right, you went not even necessarily intending to make, you know, you went because you wanted to go and you had your camera. But at what point did you say, I want to do something more concrete with this? And is that what you ended up making? Or did you end up doing something else entirely, in a sense?
I think about a week before I left, so I booked the trip just being like, I'm going on the solidarity trip. I'm going to bring my, you know, vlogging camera. And then I texted my friend Dan Luxembourg, who we just stayed in touch. He actually watched my last film, Ghosted, which is a short film on grief. About a widower who magically matches with his late wife, and he gets to go on a first date with her again. And
I watched a little bit of it.
So he saw Ghosted, and he just reached out being like, dude, your film was awesome, like, let's stay in touch. And then I texted him just being like, hey, I'm going to Israel, and he's like, dude, we gotta hop on a call. And then just in that first exploration call, Dan was getting me really excited, and he's like, I kind of have this idea. I have some connections to widows, and we were maybe going to shoot this piece with a different talent, but she just wasn't a widow or a widower herself, so like it didn't come off authentic. And as soon as he said widows, and I had an opportunity to meet widows, I jumped on it because I remember early on in my grieving process, I had like this random widower reach out to me, being like, "Hey, can I take you to lunch?" And he was a friend of a friend, and he's like a big tech guy in like San Francisco. I thought it was an interview, honestly. So I showed up to the lunch like wearing a blazer, and he sits me down and he like pulls out his phone and he shows me a photo of a woman, and he's like, "Guess who that is?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "That was my wife. She died of cancer." And then he showed me another photo of a different woman and this little cute dog. And he's like, "Guess who that is?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he's like, "This is my girlfriend now and our dog, and I'm really happy." And he, in doing that, really helped me just kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel. So then it went to full-blown documentary after the call with Dan. Rented another camera and just got into like producer mode of like, okay, I've got to, shoot a film here. And originally it was like a 15-minute YouTube video, but now, I mean, it's an hour and 12 minutes. It's a feature.
Wow. Hour and 15 minutes. Okay. Wow. Okay. 12 minutes or 15 minutes?
Hour and 12. Hour 12.
12.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, but then talk to me a little bit about the content.
Yeah.
As you know, right here, this person wanted to take you out to lunch to show you that life goes on. And we all know that sometimes you can meet a stranger and have a very meaningful conversation about the deepest, most emotional parts of you or them. But how was that? How did it unfold?
So in the film, I talk about how I got sick while I was in Israel, and I was emotional. It was exhausting. I felt like, when you talk to somebody who's grieving, I have the tendency to try and take on some of their pain and like lift them up. And in the process, it's exhausting. It's very taxing. So, talking to the widows in the film, I really felt a connection. Seema and Hani, I felt like I know exactly how they're feeling with their kids and the loneliness at night. And what's interesting about the film is it starts off with me interviewing widows, but then it evolves because Ellen, my producer, is like, "Hey, would you be open to interviewing other people than widows?" And so then I'm sitting down with parents and a brother, and it's just like, and then I go to Hostage Square, and like, it just gets really complex. And kind of on my trip, I was kind of getting hit with all these different colors of grief and like different stages of grief that the people I was interviewing were experiencing. And I tried to frame the film all through the lens of like the Jewish mourning process, or like, 3 days to bury the dead, 7 days to sit shiva, shloshim, 30 days.
30 days, right.
Yeah, and then up to 1 year.
11 months, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you were free, right? But now you came in April though.
Yeah, right? So I came in April, so I was there for the 6-month anniversary, the 6-month marker.
Okay, got it. Okay, so now, so you're telling me this film is done from April? We're in May, right?
The film is done.
Wow, okay. Yeah, okay, I gotta put that together. Okay.
Yeah.
That was fast.
Yeah, it was fast.
Okay, so now I am gonna move back to something I asked earlier, which is, okay, so then you work clearly very intensively on this film, and then but the campus protests,
yeah,
the anti-Zionism, and that goes into very, very high gear. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what then. What did you start thinking to yourself? I mean, I imagine of your followers, you got a big mix of people.
Yeah.
It's not very much not only Jewish. I would imagine to myself.
So, I think that first of all, the college campuses, or I like to call it Revenge of the Nerds. Honestly, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Look, I remember being 18, 19, and you can be influenced very easily. So like, I'm not letting these kids off the hook, but I'm also recognizing that they're kids. Or you know.
Yeah.
I'm appalled that there isn't more just like unwavering support from certain police departments and also like non-Jewish people of being like, this is actually this is bullshit. Like this
yeah.
It feels illegal. I mean, it's clearly like racist and anti-Semitic and rooted in Jew hatred, but it feels illegal to not allow Jewish students to enter and cross their own campuses. That does not feel legal. So it's like, set up your encampments, great, but the movement of Jews and the harassment of Jews is absolutely insane. And
okay.
Yeah.
Go on, please, go on. Yeah.
So I think in terms of like how it feels to be a Jew right now in the US, and again, like my Instagram feed algorithm is like pushing all of this content to me all the time. So I'm inundated with this content, and I'm almost jealous of the people that aren't really that involved in this conflict and are just like, wait, what's going on? You know, like.
Yeah.
But for me, like, this feels like a very personal battle and fight, and I just know history shows that with, Jews will be persecuted, and we always have been, and the state of Israel and the IDF is like our last defense to, like, God forbid, another Shoah. And I know that that's like very intense and alarming, but that's how I feel. I don't know. That's just like my guttural reaction to, reading plenty about Jewish history.
But how will you deal with it on your own platform?
So I've tried to produce lighthearted, somewhat comedic content on my Instagram and TikTok, talking about grief, talking about loss, and I've held off really focusing on the anti-Zionist, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas movement that's growing because it doesn't feel good to share this content. It feels,
I get that.
It just, I don't want to amplify any hate. I really just want to lift up the Jewish people and Israelis, and I find that to actually feel better than like pushing down the other side, even though the other side I think is absolutely ridiculous. And yeah. So,
but what do you do in your position though? I'm just curious. I don't know, technically, logistically, publicity-wise, what do you do?
I mean, it's a great question. I struggle with it often. I mean, I'm
sure, yeah.
I think making this film was my way of saying, okay, here's my weapon. I mean, literally, when I was on the Solidarity trip, we went to a base in the south of Israel, and I met this amazing soldier who was like 22, Devere, and his name was Devere. And we just started chatting, and I mean, this guy, he just came out of Gaza. Like, he just came out, and like we're having dinner together. And he looks at me and he goes, he's like, I've got this weapon here, and he's like holding his rifle, and then I'm holding my camera, and he's like, you've got your weapon too. Like, your weapon is stronger than mine. Referring to the camera, and to me that was just like, okay, I need to get this film out. Like, that is the best. Yeah. That's the best use of my energy and time and skill set.
Yeah. I mean, listen, also, I guess these things they're an unfolding process, right? Like, you're now starting the process of publicizing your film and putting it out there. And I mean, I would guess that you'll see what happens in terms of if it changes or shifts anything, or if you can keep your profile separate in a sense. I don't mean even technically, but sort of more emotionally and maybe I don't know. It's very. I imagine it's a very complicated time for you to sort of to figure that out, and to all these worlds are coming together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it looks like from the outside. So that's why I wanted to understand that from you.
The one other thing, like I keep joking with my PR team, like, oh, I can't wait for the outpouring of hate, sarcastically.
Yeah, sure.
And I haven't, since releasing the trailer, I haven't received any hate. Since the beginning of the war, I lost a lot of followers.
And you put the trailer on Instagram and TikTok, or
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Like I haven't received hate yet.
You put it everywhere.
I put it everywhere. Yeah. Like I'm really proud of this film. Like it's gonna go everywhere, and if I offend anybody, like, all right, like it's okay.
It's just what it is.
It just is what it is. This is a film for Jews. It's a film for Israelis. It's a film for grievers. It's a film for anybody experiencing loss, and it's a film for people who are like, what is actually going on, But it's not a this side and that side. Like, it's really not. I only focus on Israelis because I'm Israeli, and those are my people, and that's the access I got. That's what this film's about.
Right. Wow, complicated, really complicated. So, I guess final question is, did it help you? Did it help you either in ways that you expected or didn't expect with your own grief?
100% it helped me. When I made my last film, Ghosted, I was like, wow, I just spent, tens of thousands of dollars on a great therapy session. It's for me, making films, creating art, creating content is catharsis. And I absolutely feel lighter after this experience.
Right. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't necessarily think so. But
you go, it's almost like one step back but two steps forward when it comes to grief. Yeah. It's like, I was in a hole for a bit, especially like by the end of my trip in Israel. I was just like, I need to get home. And like my girlfriend, I came home to my girlfriend, and she like took care of me and gave me medicine, and like I just like rested for like 2 days. Because it was emotional. It's a very heavy trip.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I went, and yes, I absolutely think that creating art, sharing your story, sharing your pain, and relating to others who are in pain is absolutely cathartic for what you're going through, what I'm going through.
Yeah. Both, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
For what you're going through and what they're going through. Yeah. Have you shared it yet with the people that you interviewed, or that's not happened yet?
That has not happened. I don't want to open up a can of worms by getting anybody, So, but I've shared the trailer around. Everybody's painted in a really beautiful, authentic light. There's no controversy. Yeah. It's an empowering film and an uplifting film, and I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity, and like all the pieces kind of lined up, because it was a very impulsive, like, all right, I'm going to Israel, like, let's go shoot a film. And now to see that it's done, it's very exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm glad that you got to do it, and I look forward. I don't know if I look forward to, but yes, I'm anticipating seeing it and sort of understanding more of what we're talking about here and what it really looked like. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sharing part of the story, and maybe we'll see our way to an end of this thing somehow.
Amen.
Don't know, but it could happen. Yes. All right. Rob, be well, and we'll see where this goes from here. You know, I imagine you'll work on other things, and we'll talk again at some point. And I'll let you know. I'll let you know about sharing the interview.
Amazing.
On YouTube.
Amazing, Jessica.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Be well.
All right. Talk soon. Bye.
Okay.
That was awesome. That's awesome. Times of Israel. So I'm feeling right now like obviously like pride. There's like a little pride of like good job. Like okay, you're doing this, you know? With that there comes a little fear of like, oh shit, you're doing this. Like you're on the edge. It's about to be real. But again, I watched the film again last night. We're in color and sound right now. It's a beautiful film. It's like it's a solid film, and these stories need to be told. And bring some Kleenex when you watch it, and I'll take care of you through it. Like my voiceover kind of takes you through it, and you kind of go on the trip with me. It's a solid 8 days in Israel. Different 8 days than I've ever experienced the many times I've been there. So yeah, this is exciting. Launch day. We are 2 days away from launch day. And I just can't thank you guys enough, for watching and supporting and sharing. We'll release on Tuesday and try and get some screenings put together so we can all experience this film in person, not on our phones in our car, but again, experience it whenever you can. And Am Yisrael Achai. Love you guys. Why do I do this? I don't know. Guys, I'm 36. I shouldn't be throwing up peace signs. Anyways. Look, I want to do it again. I just wanted to do it again when I said love you guys. I love you guys. And I need to hold my hands. Goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen. Lahitraot. Shalom Aleichem. All right, I'm loopy. Goodbye. 2 days. Love you guys.